Hey everybody, this is Jeannie at Richland Sewing Center. Today is Wednesday, Thursday. What's today? Today is Wednesday. It's hump day. I am really off. I have Keith here with me today because Ain is not working today. Jane is not working today. Everybody out front's busy, so I told Keith he had to stay here and hold the phone. So we'll be going on in a minute. I'm going to show you a few things. I'm going to remind you today that tomorrow I am spinning the wheel for great prizes. So I have to have at least 20 shares and at least 20 comments. You have been really good about doing comments. And besides just saying, hi, Jeannie, which we like, make a comment about what we're doing or what you would like to see us doing. I like this. I don't like this. I wish you'd do this. Stop doing that. Or whatever. It helps us to know what you like. So I'm going to turn this around and show you a few things before I get to the meat of the subject. So over here, I have two more of these panels. These are the Moda face masks for Christmas. There are children's sizes and adult sizes on here, and I'm not going to open the whole thing up because then it'll be all messed up. But there are really cute face masks on here, and I only have two left, and I think they run around $9 or $10 for the whole sheet. Tomorrow, I'm going to show you the third hand. This is another binding folding clip. A customer brought one of these in, and I tried it, and it's really cool. So I'm going to show you that tomorrow. I'm not going to do it today. And then just today, we got back in stock the Better Not Pout book. And this is the one that has the applique patterns in it. Their patterns are wonderful. There are quilt patterns, applique patterns, stocking patterns, all kind of things in here. I have reordered the Art to Heart Better Not Pout towels. They are not here yet. I'm hoping they will be soon. We do have a lot of other towels, but I hope I gave you some ideas on towels in the last couple of days. So I'm going to move over here and show you. This is the other towel that I did yesterday. I had that started when I did my live, but it was not finished. And I have a design picked out from Kimberbell to put over the one that I had the boo-boo on. So we'll go ahead from there. So I'm going to hand this to Keith and talk to you about a couple feet and a couple techniques. So Keith, don't touch that right there. Make sure you don't touch where it says finish, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to talk to you just for a little bit about the rope coasters. It could be a bowl, it could be a coaster, it could be a basket, it could be whatever you want. What we did were the coasters. Jane did this one, and the difference, I'm going to hold this over here in the light. The difference between this one and this one, besides the design and the size is different. Jane used a triple stitch to put hers together. I used a zigzag stitch. This sample is also the zigzag stitch. And this is the first one I did. And I wanted to show you how I started. And you can see there's a little tiny hole in the middle, which would be okay if you did embroidery because it would get hidden. But I got a little better the second time I did it. When you start, that's the hardest part. And I'm going to show you on this end of the rope. This is what the clothesline looks like. And it is cotton clothesline. This is Kimberbell paper tape. And I wrap a piece of the paper tape right around the end and then clip it so that the tape is kind of even with the end, but so the end isn't fuzzy. Can you kind of see what I'm doing? And then I folded it like this, kind of into a little U shape, and I zigzagged right across there, and then you start forming a circle. So I have started this one, and I'm already breaking a rule because you're supposed to go clockwise, because if you do a bowl, you're going to sew the base of the bowl, and then you're going to start tipping the bowl to make the sides. Can you see it okay, Keith? Mm-hmm. But I'm not making a bowl, so I'm going to, for some reason, I have a tendency to go counterclockwise. So if you're doing a coaster, that's okay. I have my machine set on a zigzag, and on this particular machine, I have raised the presser foot because I've selected heavy fabric. I'm on the Viking right now. So I use this pair of scissors as a guide. So I'm going to sew a little bit. And you do want to set your machine for needle down. And see, I'm using this pair of scissors, which I just said that and it's not, to kind of turn it. And it wouldn't matter if you were going clockwise or counterclockwise. So I'm going to sew a little ways. And I know you probably can't tell, but I'm using this pair of scissors to kind of turn this. You could use a stylus if it was pointed, or maybe even a seam ripper. For me, this little pair of scissors has just worked really well. I've used this on all the ones I've done. You do want this to stay tight because you don't want spaces between this. So see how I'm kind of snugging that up against the previous row? And you just keep doing that. And if you want to use the triple zigzag, if you're more comfortable with that, whoops, that's absolutely fine. And right now my machine's mad. So this is a good time to stop. So it looks like I need to kind of rethread here. I'm going to raise this. Something got hung right there. And that happens sometimes. You know, I like to show you my boo-boos as well as the good things. Can you kind of see how that's a zigzag stitch? Can you kind of key in on that, Keith? Mm-hmm. And see, there's a little white smooth spot right there. That's where I had that Kimberbell tape. And see, it looks pretty much the same on the back. And all I need to do is rethread here. I think something got hung there. But basically what I wanted to do today, whoops, I have to tell it okay, was to show you how to work on it. So all I'm going to do right now is come back in here and back up a little bit. And see, you can use your fingers, but your fingers kind of get in the way. To me, it's easier to use that pair of scissors, but see, I can just move on like that. Can you see that, how the difference is, Keith? Does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. Okay. And on this machine, like I said, I chose medium heavy fabric, heavyweight fabric, so that raised my presser foot. I didn't change my presser foot height or anything. I did one on the Brother, and it was the same thing. I also used the J foot on the Brother. This is the A foot on the Viking. Some people suggested the open toe foot. I don't think I would use the open toe foot, but I may try it to see if that works a little bit better. But I hope that kind of gives you an idea. The hardest part on the coasters is the very end. And when I get to the end, I also put some of that Kimberbell tape on there and kind of cut a little taper and then move off. I still have to practice that. I'm far from perfect. But you know, if I gave you this coaster as a present, would you like it? Would you like it, Keith? Okay, Keith said he would like it that way anyway. So I hope that gives you an idea. Go buy yourself a package of that stuff and just try it. I would suggest you use the same color thread. On this one, I was using blue thread because it happened to be on the machine. And it kind of gives a little color if you want to add that color, but I think it's probably better to stay with the neutral thread that matches the rope. Okay, so that's just a little information about doing that. So we're going to move over now. So come with me. Don't trip over that chair. We're going to come over here. And I'm in front of the Brother now because I want to show you some things about feet. There are, so if you'll probably, are you okay? Mm-hmm. I lost my photographer here. I think he's getting a chair. There are so many wonderful feet available for these machines, and some of them you really just don't take advantage of. There's a lot of stitches that you don't take advantage of. I'm on the Epic and the Luminaire, and there are so many decorative stitches and things. You can take a plain piece of fabric, you can sew across the end of a towel, use a pretty thread, do some things, and if you have the right foot, it really makes a difference. So I want to show you my 3 favorite feet. Okay, I actually have more than that, but my number 1 favorite foot is my open toe foot. That's this one. I like this one because I do a lot of applique. This does not come with most machines. On the bottom, there's what we call a ditch or a groove, because when you're appliquing, very often you're using a satin stitch or a blanket stitch, and it's a little bit thicker, so it needs to be able to travel under that. Now this is the J foot, which would be the A foot on the Viking and the A foot on the Janome. It's flat on the bottom. So if I'm trying to send something that's thick through there, it doesn't want to move quite as well as one that has the groove. So that's why this open toe foot is so nice. Now, occasionally, if you're doing just a decorative stitch, sometimes the fabric does something called hydroplaning, and it kind of comes up in the middle of the foot. If the needle's going way to the left and then way to the right, sometimes that fabric wants to lift in the middle, and that's not a good thing. but that's why we use a lightweight stabilizer or starch or something like that with your fabric so that those decorative stitches will stay flat. Now, if it's a stitch that has a penetration in the middle, you won't have that. So kind of be careful when you're doing that. There's also a foot that's an S foot for the Viking and an N foot for the brother that's real wide. And when you're doing the real wide decorative stitches or the side motion stitches, you're going to use that foot. So that's one of my favorite feet. My second favorite foot is the edge joining foot. And if you can see on the bottom, there's a little blade. It's not really a blade, but we kind of call it that in the middle. And I'm going to come back to that one in just a moment and tell you why I like that. The foot that I have on here now is a cording foot. And this is one that does this fun technique. Now, these threads are all too thick to go through the needle, but aren't they pretty? So what I've done, I've selected a triple stitch on the machine, which is a zigzag that kind of goes in, has 3 penetrations. Now I have some threads kind of tied together here. If you, Keith, show these spools. These are threads that are too thick to go through the needle. These are also the threads that I talked about last week for bobbin work. It's the same kind of thing. So when I want to use these, I'm going to go to the back and I'm going to slide them up through the groove in the foot. And I tied them together so I wouldn't lose track of them. Whoops, one of them got away. And I want to slide this over, and I kind of have to play with it a little bit because I want one thread in each little groove. And there's actually 3 grooves on that foot. Can you see it? And see how I've got 3 little grooves going in there? That gold thread looks like it's kind of wanting to separate. I'm going to fuss with it here. We'll see how the gold thread does. So when I put this down, whoops, I lost my foot control. Hold on just a second. And I have to kind of practice to see how wide. And the other fun thing about this, I'm going to make that a little bit wider, is if you put a decorative thread in the needle, you kind of get an additional spark. Now that gold thread is just being stubborn. It's because I'm trying to do this on the camera. It's not staying in its little groove, but I think you'll get the idea. Even if it falls over there, it's probably still going to be kind of pretty. See how that does? See how I have 3 distinct colors, and that gold thread's separated. So I actually have 2 gold threads and a green and a silver. And then my thread on the top is red. But isn't that pretty? And you can turn. You don't have to just go in a straight row, by the way. You can do curves. Look at this gold thread. It's just all separated on there. Bad girl. I don't know why that's doing that, but just to show you, and you don't really have to hold it. Sometimes I hold it and I laughingly say it's like the reins on a horse, and I'm going to turn the fabric. So see, I can get a curve in there, and there you go. See how we're going around there? And I just think this foot's fun. And you can put, if you, like I said, if you put a metallic thread in the needle, which I've done over here, that adds a separate sparkle. I kind of like sparkles, can you tell? So that is one of my feet that I just absolutely love. So I'm going to raise the needle and raise the presser foot, and I'm going to cut these because they're still attached to this spool here, and just pull those out. And I think you can kind of see. Can you get a good look at that? Mm-hmm. Isn't that pretty? I love this. I think it's really fun to use. And even though I'm sewing on the brother right now, the other machines have a foot that will do the same thing. So this is a 3-hole cord foot here. The Viking has a 5-hole and a 7-hole. The Janome has the 3-hole too. So they're fun. So they're just neat. Then the other one I want to show you, I'm going to move this behind the machine a little bit. I also wanted to show you here. This is that same foot. So this is shiny thread as opposed to the metallic. And isn't that pretty going down through there? And then this is a couching stitch. I've talked about couching before. That's just a piece of ribbon. And then I did a stitch that went off to the sides of the ribbon, and I think that looks pretty. This is done with a fringe foot. And then that little cord I sewed right next to the fringe foot. Those are kind of fun. It's kind of fun to just do decorative stitches because they're fun. I'm going to move that, and I'm going to remind you, most of the presser feet are snap-on. So I'm going to push the little button at the back and drop that foot off the machine. So now I've got that one off. And see, this one also has a groove on the bottom. So that helps those cords go through that foot real nicely. And now I'm going to take my edge joining foot, which I've got the package here in case you couldn't understand what I was saying. Whoops, come back here. And this one is a little more flat on the bottom because most of the techniques that you're going to do with this, you're going to need to move through evenly. But notice it has a little guide right here in the middle. Like I said, I call it a blade, but it's not really a blade. I use this for a lot of different techniques. I do want to remind you, when you snap on a foot, if you just lower the presser bar and slam this down, chances of you landing in the right spot are slim. So I put it down when there's no presser foot on there. And then my little presser bar back here becomes active. And now I can lower that into the right spot on the foot and bring that back up. Some of the feet snap on from the front on the Viking. You kind of wedge them on from the front. On the Brother and the Jeannie, they go on from the bottom. But I hate to put that down and have it miss. Does that make sense? So one of my favorite things to use for the edge joining foot is if I'm couching on something like I want to sew this like I did this. Can you see the stitching along there? And I want to make sure it's straight. So it doesn't matter which side. I'm going to put the presser foot down so that the edge of my seam tape here, and this is also perfect for binding. It's perfect for edge stitching. It's perfect for binding. It's perfect for sewing something on top like this. So now I'm going to select a straight stitch on the machine. And now the needle is in the middle. And I'm going to move it just slightly to the left. And I'm going to kind of peek at it right there. I'm going to do a little bit, little bit more. And get it in the position I want. And now my eyeball is going to stay right here. And now when I sew, I'm keeping the edge of that seam tape right against, and this could be ribbon or whatever, right against that little bar. And the bar sticks out far enough in the front, you can really see where it is. So imagine that where you're binding on a quilt. And it would be the same kind of thing. Isn't that neat?
That is neat.
I think that's wonderful. And then the other thing, of course, it was designed for when you have two edges that you're going to put together. And that's kind of an heirloom technique. We would put two pieces of lace up against here and then do a bridging, what we call a bridging stitch. And that would join those. That's why it's called an edge joining foot. Most of the time we use it more for other things. But let's pretend I want to applique even. I'm going to put that again against that edge, and I'm going to scoot down here and choose an applique stitch, and I'm going to move that stitch over. Remember how some of you have the ability to move your stitch over? And I'm going to put that right there. And now watch. Again, I'm going to keep the edge of this fabric. Pretend I were appliquing that. And I'm going to slide that right down there. And because I've got that guide, again, I'm looking right here. I'm not watching the needle. The needle's just going to go up and down and mind its own business. And see, look how that goes right along the edge of that and keeps that perfect. Actually, I think I would put it one more. I'm going to put that down and raise the needle. And I'm going to move it one more over there. Let's see. Yeah, that's better. That's a little bit closer. So you kind of do a little practice until you get it in the right spot. Let me see if that looks a little bit better. I'll speed her up there a little bit. There we go. See how that's keeping that stitch right at the edge of the fabric and sewing that on just perfectly? So for those of you that applique and you're a little panicky about how to keep that in position, this is a great thing to do. And Keith, if you'll slide over here. This is the left-right shift that I'm talking about on this machine. You can do the same thing on the Viking and the Jeannie. It moves your stitch over. If I poke this button, see how it's moving? It's not changing the width of the stitch. It's just moving the stitch. And then another thing, while he's right here, I'm going to come up here and touch Character Decorative. And this is a whole other category of beautiful, beautiful stitches. And look, if I touch that one, I could sew a whole row of Christmas trees. Isn't that pretty? I could combine these stitches with other stitches. And if you were trying to put a decorative stitch around a cuff, on a collar, across a tea towel, even on a quilt across the middle, you know how we applique Christmas trees and then we want to put something pretty? There's so many pretty stitches back here. And see, you can just look at all kinds of them. See, there's just there, and some of them are really big. There's a bunch of categories up here, and that's same true on the other brands. Excuse me. talk for a minute. Keith, say something clever.
You can go to commercial. Have BJ do some commercials for you.
Oh, we're going to commercial break. Okay. Okay, I'll take it back now. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you to my cameraman. Say hi, Keith. Okay. So I hope that gives you some ideas. There are so many things you can do on your machine without leaving home. It's fun if you have a pretty decorative thread. I usually do use an embroidery type thread to do those things. Sewing on your binding, doing your applique, doing your decorative stitches. You can just put your bobbin weight thread in the bottom, or you can use your regular thread in the bottom and do that. When you're doing the cording stitches like I did with that foot, just regular thread on the top, or it's more fun to kind of use a decorative thread. Again, that lightweight thread on the bobbin. It's so fun. And I love to play with these stitches. They are just incredible. And when you start programming them, I think you can see I'm making a horribly messy program, but I'm going to come over here and touch the pocket because I saved one a little while ago and I wanted to show you that one. Whoops, it's not coming up. Come on. And that has Christmas trees, snowflake, Christmas trees, snowflake. And wouldn't that be cute? Can you see it? Wouldn't that be cute to go around something? So I kind of did that one and then saved it because I thought that would be kind of cute to put across something. You know, I have to repair that towel that I did yesterday. So I'm looking at all kinds of things. I do want to show you this. These are the embroidery designs that we're putting on the little coasters. So if any of you are looking, they're from Embroidery Garden, and we have group 2 and group 3. Those are the ones that we liked so well. So here's the deal. Our accessories are 25% off this week. So if there's any presser foot that you would like to see demonstrated, just come ask me. If there's presser feet that you like that maybe I've talked about before, now is the time to get them because they're on sale. That sale will go through Saturday. You might leave a hint to someone if someone's going to get you something for Christmas, or if you'd like to have somebody get you a gift certificate, we can do that in any amount at all. So that would be a wonderful, wonderful gift, right? So kind of think about that. Let me know what you would like to see. I love to teach things on the machine. I think you know that. I love to teach techniques, but I want to know what you want. Let me know if any of you tried the snowballs. Let me know if you tried the tea towels. Let me know if you've tried the t-shirts. Did any of you find that Santa? I did. I love my little Santa. And don't forget, we need comments and shares. This is one of the prizes tomorrow, but that's only one. I will have, and depending on how many we get, that will determine how many prizes we have. By the way, the shirt that I have on is a combination of applique and couching. See that gold thread that's around there? That's couching. The letters are appliqued. So see, that's another technique that you can do, kind of what I was just talking about. Maybe tomorrow I'll show the braiding foot, because the braiding foot is what you need to do this. We have a foot for just about everything for most machines. So comment, share, tune in tomorrow, and we will spin the wheel, okay? I want to hear your comments. Y'all have a blessed afternoon. Thank you. Bye-bye.